Ladies and gentlemen, we got a special guest. Actually, today's a Saturday guest because there was a snowstorm on a Thursday, and this is, of course, Rock City Central on a Saturday, so that kind of screws things up. But Krystle Danza is here, Miss Hudson County for New Jersey International 2021.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Danza.
Hi, everyone.
I would say related to Tony Danza, but probably many people don't know who Tony Danza is.
I hope people know who Tony Danza is. I know who he is.
Do you really?
I do.
Okay.
It's been a joke I've been getting since I was like 3.
No relation? Nothing?
No relation. So actually, a fun fact that I heard from my father, unless he's lying to me, I've heard that Tony Danza actually has an I in front of his last name.
Like Danza?
Like I Danza or something.
Really?
And he dropped it for the stage. Now, if this is not true, please don't come after me. It's my father's fault.
Wow. No, that I didn't even know. Who even knows how many people even know who Tony Danza is?
It was so funny. He was like, yeah, I was told that when I was a kid living in Brooklyn because my parents grew up in Brooklyn. I am Jersey born and raised. But,
where in Brooklyn, do you know?
My mother was Marine Park.
I was Mill Basin, which was right near Marine
Really?
Park.
Yeah. My mom, her last name was Warham before marrying my father.
What is it?
Warham?
Warham, I don't know.
W-O-R-A-M.
What school did she go to?
Oh, I never remember. There's too many numbers to
Yeah,
keep track of.
I was a teacher at Madison High School, which was right there in Marine Park. I taught social studies in Madison.
Oh.
Not that I would have taught your mom.
No, but yeah.
So I'm Brooklyn too. I went to South Shore High School. What about your dad?
My dad, I always think I'm getting it wrong. I'm pretty sure Bay Ridge, but I could be wrong.
Okay, my wife's from Bay Ridge,
Yeah.
that area anyway.
Yeah, they always spent their time in Marine Park just because my mom didn't have a license until she was 27. They met when they were 17.
Oh, they went to 10 years they were dating?
They were dating 10 years before he proposed.
Wow.
10 or 11. No, it's 10. I'm pretty sure.
Fun fact is, I didn't propose either to my wife. Or I was waiting because I'm like, I want to be a rock star. So she proposed to me. She didn't even give me a choice. So tell your mom, she probably should have proposed a little bit sooner.
She had patience. She was like, no, everyone was like, Mario's never going to get married. Mario's going to be... And then she was like, no, you're wrong.
Oh, boy,
So she was fine. My mom had no problem.
That's cool. So what I'd love to do is learn a lot about you. There's a lot of things I want to bring up, not really related to the pageant, more about your life. And we'll get into the pageant as well, because I found you to be super, super interesting.
Well, thank you.
And the reason why I wanted to meet you, the one thing I wanted to talk to you about is that you're very musical too.
Yes.
And let's take it back to 2019. You just finished 4 years of college in Manhattan.
Of high school, actually.
Of high school.
Oh, I'm sorry, 2019.
2019 of college.
I have 2015 in my head. No,
Right.
2019, yeah.
But it was in Manhattan College for Performing Arts.
Yes, I went to Marymount Manhattan.
Yes.
Yes, for a BFA in musical theater.
And when did you graduate?
I did graduate in 2019.
Right, but when? June, September?
May.
May. Okay. So now you're ready to do this huge career, right? You got your 4 years, right?
Yes.
You're ready to conquer the world. You got Broadway on your mind because I know you wanted to be like this big, Broadway star.
Absolutely.
And then we get hit by Corona.
Yes.
So I just wanted to know what went through your mind after 4 years of busting your hump, right? And doing what you love and knowing that Broadway goes dark, right?
So at first, I was confused by the pandemic. I thought it was only 2 weeks when this first happened, and I was auditioning a lot and working a lot. So I was like, wow, a great 2-week break. And I remember like halfway through week 1, I'm already over it, and I go, I can't wait for these 2 weeks to be over.
Boy, were you
And
surprised.
my mom goes, what's so special about 2 weeks? I go, it's a 2-week shutdown, right? And she goes, oh no. And I go, what? She's like, I hate to be the one to tell you this, but we don't know how long this pandemic is going to happen.
Wow.
I go quiet. I say nothing. We were at dinner. It was probably like 6:30 p.m. I say nothing. She finds me at like midnight in my kitchen baking. And she's like, why are you baking at midnight? And I'm like, I don't know what to do now. My career is over. I start panicking.
Oh my God.
I have high anxiety, so this wasn't that shocking if you know me. But when it really settled in, like what this pandemic was, I freaked out. But the good thing about me, I'll freak out and have like anxiety for a day or two. And then I went, okay, so what career choice am I making now? So I built my voiceover studio in my room.
Wow, that's great.
And I already took some classes with Paul Liberty in the city, who is amazing. He is a phenomenal voice actor. And I was like, I've been saying I was going to do this. I've been too busy to do it, so I'm going to do this now. I was lucky that a director I worked with last year on an original play called They Call It Gravy, We Call It Sauce, he has decided to make a film now of that show, and he adapted it, and it is called Love Lives On now.
So wait, there was a film that took place over the course of this year?
So the film is actually, it's still in developmental stages, but he came and found me back in like last spring. Like we were in the pandemic, full-fledged, and he was like, can I Zoom you? I was like, sure. And I loved working with him. We got along really well. He's Italian New Jersey guy, and you know, I'm a very Sicilian New Jersey girl, so he liked my humor. We just worked well together.
Wait, was this just voiceover, or was this an actual video production?
So this is gonna be a movie. Like this is gonna be like an independent film.
Where was it filmed?
It's going to be filmed in New Jersey.
Oh, so it hasn't been filmed yet?
It hasn't been filmed yet.
Okay.
So how I started working with him is I did a play with him last year.
During the pandemic, you did
No. Like last
2
year.
years.
Last year,
Oh,
like
okay.
say October.
Right
I'm
after you graduated.
I
then.
keep saying last year.
Yeah, it's 2 years
Once
ago.
again, the pandemic is ruining time for me. I am seeing where the confusion comes now.
I know.
They're like, oh no, this pageant queen can't tell.
It's 2022. You've already won.
Yeah, really. I'm like, oh, okay. It's already
Well, thank
done.
you. Where's the crown?
But no, yeah. So I met him, and he also came up with me in the same week that I was making my voiceover studio to be like, hey, I'm developing this. Will you come on board and be Mafalda, the part I played in the play on stage? Will you do it for the movie adaptation? And
Wow,
I was
that's
like,
great.
okay. I've always wanted to get into film. I never, coming from a theater background, theater takes a lot of your energy. You could want to do a lot of other medias, and it's very hard to
There's
move
no
on.
retakes, though, in theater, right? You're on Broadway, you're on the stage, you make a mistake, it's like, oh, God, I made a mistake.
Yeah. Well, I actually did with my friends that came with me today. We all met in theater. We did drama club together.
So they're all theater people, too?
They are all theater people.
So you must have all been shocked when Broadway went up.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, especially Sam, one of my friends, we both were auditioning together. Sam and I are full-fledged, like, professional performers. So we both were like, oh, this is happening.
Wow.
And it's been a little crazy. And theater, we love it. I would have to say they were always a little bit more relaxed than me when it came to shows. I was known as the one who had to get everything perfect. I'm a perfectionist. So they all had to grow up with me, learning how to deal with things not going your way on stage.
So is Broadway still closed? Is it still dark?
As far as I know, yes, but they are talking about it getting opened again in
I think next year.
I heard the summer,
Oh, okay.
but I don't know.
What do you think most of those folks are doing now? Do you think that Broadway, this might be a great thing that happens for you? Because now just think of it. People who are really relying on Broadway jobs now have to pivot. Now they got married, or they're having a kid and a family, or maybe they moved out of the state because New York is crazy. And maybe there's just openings now for folks like you and your friends who've, now are coming out ready to do this. And now Broadway opens up and they need all these actors and actresses, right?
Yeah,
This could be great, right?
It can be awesome.
I'm looking at the, glass half full.
I'm always looking at the glass half full, because while I was so upset about it in the beginning, I knew I had to just keep going. That's just what you have to do when you're an actor. There were a lot of things. I think it's great also. The audition experience in New York before the pandemic hit was honestly not a great situation for actors. I believe it was actually very unfair to actors.
In what way?
They would have, and I know it's the way it's always been done. I just think with technology, we can improve upon this. And the way it's always been done is not a way that auditions should be keeping what they're doing. It's theater. We're ever changing. What we are still currently doing in theater is I get up at like 4 a.m. to go sit on the street of New York City in a line with a bunch of other actors, and we get up there, and even if you get a number or a spot, type outs are very exciting for
What's a type out? I'm sorry, what's a type out?
Type outs are basically, you can either be put in a line in the audition room and they look at you and they simply go yes or no if they want you to audition.
Wow, that's like a judgment thing,
And
right?
then the worst one for me is they take my headshot, and I believe I have a very good headshot, but somehow I was getting typed out of every single audition. I was not even getting seen to sing.
Why?
because they would just look at my headshot and my resume and they'd be like, no, thank you.
Oh, wow.
And I went to a lot of classes. I had
So wait, you would have to, 4 o'clock in the morning, you go there, wait on a line, and hope that
Absolutely.
you get picked.
Yes,
That's crazy.
absolutely. It was insane, and it was happening, and it's not just me. And there was even a call right before the pandemic hit. They were doing a national tour of Hairspray, and I did get in the room for that one, but that audition, people were packed in like cats and dogs, and like it was just ridiculous. People were wrapped around the block, this line, like wrapped around the block, going down the avenue, just a bunch of people just desperately trying to be seen.
Holy
People
man.
are trying to cut each other. Everyone's getting really ruthless. And then even if you made it in the room, there was a point of the day they just had to walk into the hall and be like, if you're after this person, you're cut. Like, you can't come in. And I get it. They weren't expecting that many people, but there is a better way to do these auditions.
There has to be.
There has to be. And I don't know if I have the solution per se, but I do have, we just have technology now. And as an actress who was used to the stage, I hated self-taping. Like, despised it.
What is self-taping? I'm sorry, I know nothing about the acting
that is
world.
okay. Sometimes when you're like in this business, you get so used to knowing what everything is. So.
Well, on a side note, I'm reading Matthew McConaughey's new book, Green Lights. It's
Oh,
a book you
really?
got to read. It's
Really?
it's how he got into acting, how it's an amazing book. So as you're saying things, he references it. Now I need to know what it means. So please tell me what that
Amazing.
means.
Yeah, absolutely. So self-tape is if they're not doing an in-person audition or before they some people were smart and they'd be like, we want to schedule in-person auditions, but how do you tell who do you want to see? Right. So a self-tape, you would just film yourself with I do it with a ring light and my iPhone, and I have an instrumental or a pianist, and I sing and I send it into
And you have an amazing voice. I look at you
thank
more
you.
as a musician. I didn't realize you were acting, but because I heard your voice. Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
So singing was definitely how I first got into this business, but why I ended up in the acting end of it was from a young age, even when my voice was developing, I didn't have I would say my voice, what it sounds like now, is purely out of hard work. I did not naturally have the best voice. I was competing against New Jersey Community Theater is pretty tough. And I was competing against girls who came out of the womb being able to belt those high Broadway notes. I had to work for it really hard. But the thing that was getting me into these community theater shows was, we can't stop watching you. Your face, you're acting. You're never boring. They're like, we keep casting you. Even if I would completely mess up my song when I was younger, because I struggled with singing a lot, even though I loved it. And when I was having my good days, I was having real good days with my voice. But I had a lot of days that were just misses in the audition room, and somehow I was still getting called back because they were like, we just loved watching you. Your acting was phenomenal. You don't know how many girls, because they can sing so well, they never were pushed to be a really good actress. But I was milking my natural talent for acting through my singing.
Got it.
And it was getting me further. And then I just love singing, so I would sing all the time. My voice naturally found its way to being what it is now.
But the actors and actresses, they're not generally musicians or performing artists or singers, right?
You would actually be shocked how many, when I went to musical theater school, I met so many people who were strictly actors. Like, we have an acting BFA program at Marymount, and I didn't hear them sing or anything because I didn't have singing classes with them. And then I would just be hanging out, and we would do like open mics at a party, and all these actors, they were able to sing.
Wow.
And whether they were, Broadway level belting high notes, they still had great musicality. A lot of them could play an instrument, so many of them. And I was so impressed. I was like, wow. So a lot of people can sing. Of course, you have to have that passion for singing, because there's a lot of good singers nowadays. But how can you elevate yourself as a singer?
That's
How
right.
do you connect with the audience? And when people go, oh my God, you're such a good singer, I'm so happy to hear it, because I work on my technique every day. But I love the connection I'm making with people in the audience. Like, I love to do cabarets.
Gotcha.
I will make it a point to storytell through my singing. And so I feel like actors that choose to take their spare time to learn any part of music, they end up having a great natural talent because they have that discipline.
Got it.
Actors who are strict actors, the discipline I had to learn, I had a teacher in college who was actually from the BFA acting program, but she was teaching some of the musical theater acting classes. One of the hardest classes of my life.
Really?
I am someone who can take criticism. I am someone who takes a note and I will do it immediately. I was breaking down in stairwells.
Wow.
Now she's one of my favorite people in the world. She broke me down, but she also built me back up. She's not one of those people that tear a student down just to leave them. But she taught me how to do classical acting. She taught me how to be realistic. She taught me that musical theater will typically put their singers and actors in a box of what type of characters I could play. And so my musical theater program was being like, you're funny, you're funny, you're funny. So you're just going to do the cute little side quirky parts.
I see.
And my acting teacher was like, you are a leading woman. She's like, the fact they are putting you to the side just because you can do funny, she was like, unacceptable. You need to work harder. You can do even more than what you're doing.
So just out of curiosity, and for the people watching this, you rejected and you weren't put on that list. What was it called? The white list, the wait list? What was that term that you use when you don't make that cut? When they take your headshot?
When you just are cut. There's not even a list. Like,
so
they don't remember you.
When you get cut or you're not getting the part, what do you tell yourself to keep you going for the next audition? Because a lot of people that watch this would be like, I would have gave up. Who wants to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning? But who wants to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, wait for the whole day to leave and go, I haven't even been seen? What do you tell that person?
I wish I could have a beautiful, eloquent answer for you. But I'm going to be honest. The street that I usually am auditioning at, the studio is called Pearl Studios. There is a Taco Bell cantina next door. So I go and get a taco after I'm cut because I just need a minute before I try to pick myself back up. And it will be a bunch of people. Like when we all get cut, I'll look and I'll be like, I'm going to Taco Bell cantina. Anyone want to come? And I have all these people I never met before just coming with me to get some tacos. And you have to kind of push it out of your mind.
Yeah.
Because if you sit there right when you still have the emotion of being rejected, acting is very personal. If you are being rejected, as much as you want to say you're a logical person who can be like, well, there's so many reasons, in that moment, it's emotional.
Yeah.
If you try to address it right then and there, you're just going to get emotional. It's not going to work. You're not going to listen to yourself.
That's a great way to do it. Just really distract yourself. Go get some tacos.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is.
And then later that day, guess what? I'm back in a voice lesson. I'm back in a dance class. I'm back doing more self-tapes, updating my website, looking for new auditions, seeing if anyone is putting out feelers for a self-tape as opposed to having to go in.
Right.
There's so many things that I find that I can do later on. But in that moment, and that's... like, I don't even want to hear it from my mom. Well, just get back up and go out there again. I'm like, Mom, please.
Totally get it.
Not right now.
Yeah. Let me finish the taco first.
Yeah.
So, just out of curiosity, who's your favorite singer actress? If you can put one in.
Bernadette Peters is definitely...
Really? I would have never thought of Bernadette. She's an older actress.
She is, but she was one of my biggest inspirations.
But she's very funny. She's
hysterical.
Yeah.
And what I love about her is she was constantly, the critics, like when it used to get released in the newspaper, they would tear her apart.
Yeah.
They would tear her apart no matter what she did. And I would watch these videos of her singing, like in, Annie Gets Your Gun, when she played Mama Rose, all of these roles. And the fact they were ripping her apart constantly, and I'm watching what I'm watching, I was like, this woman is making history. Yeah. And that's when I started to learn, a lot of people are not going to like what I do.
Right.
I think I started to put 2 and 2 together that in the audition room, I am not cookie cutter. I am not your typical fit in a box actor, fit in your box singer. I am unique, and I say that with pride. And I'm going to be rejected a lot.
Yeah.
I had a teacher years ago try to warn me of that, and I took it to offense. Like, she was like, you're not going to get put in an ensemble. And I took it to offense. I was like, are you saying I'm not a good enough dancer to be in an ensemble? Like, what is that? I start freaking out. And now, 3 years later, I sit here and I go, she was trying to tell me that certain people are going to absolutely love me and they're going to want me as a role. They're going to want me carrying the show. But a lot of people are not going to get what I'm doing, what I do when I'm in the room, when I'm performing. And they're going to want someone that's easier to put into the cast. And that's okay. There's so many amazing actors nowadays that it has to be the actor that fits your vision.
Yeah.
And I think now that I'm starting to accept that, each rejection is less hurtful for me.
You know what's so strange? As I'm reading this book with Matthew McConaughey, he's been rejected so many times, but he doesn't take no for an answer. Like, he'll go back and say, you made a mistake, and I'm going to do this. And he talks about this. And then when he gets rejected, he goes right back, and he will not stop until he penetrates them and gets his way.
I honestly wish I did that more through... and
That's what he did. He
Yeah.
got his role simply because he just did not give up. He literally drove out from Texas to California, and the guy who said, come back some other time, I'm not ready to take you in, you can sleep on my couch. He's like, F you, no. You told me. I just came from Texas, sat on his couch. And he just, audition after audition, he would not take no for an answer.
And, if I had that attitude, I will never forget. There was a New Jersey theater company that was doing The Wedding Singer.
Adam Sandler, love that.
I actually played Holly when I was
Did
16.
you really?
Yes, it's one of my favorite roles. I still have the jean jacket I wore. I still have the
Oh my God.
fingerless lace gloves. And the girl who played Julia, we're both in the business now, and we still talk about this production of Wedding Singer because we had such a fun time, and we both love the musical.
Right.
So when I saw they were doing that, they were doing Saturday Night Fever. I can't even remember the third show, but it was another upbeat, like, funny show. I was like, this is a season for me. I'm going to go in there. They typed me out. I was sitting there with my curled hair, like 80s hair. My headshot that year, I have naturally, like, really big curly hair. And so that was my headshot. And I was like, I'm going to get into this 80s Saturday night. First of all, Saturday Night Fever, are you kidding me? Like, and when I was rejected, I almost went into that door and went, no. I was like, I'm just sorry,
But
no.
what would have happened if you did that? Because I'm thinking, I know what happened with Matthew McConaughey when they said no. Because they gave, do you ever see that movie that he played A License to Kill?
Oh,
If you haven't seen that,
I've seen parts of it, and
you
I'm
gotta
dying
see
to
that
see it.
movie.
Yeah.
And they wanted to make him the head of the KKK. And they said, you'd be perfect for it. He goes, no, I'm the guy who's the lawyer. He laughed. He goes, you're going up with Sandra Bullock. Sandra Bullock is like an A-star. She just came out of it with this great movie. You're a nobody who came out of this stupid movie that goes, all right, and you're not getting this part. So Joel Schumacher, he said, I'm getting this part. And he kept on it every single time. In fact, when his audition took place, it was buried in the middle of nowhere. So nobody would find out, because if they found out that he was rejected for this part, Hollywood would have just said, no good. But that's what started his career. He just said no for an answer. Did not take no for an answer.
I wish there would be more stories like that, but sadly with theater, everyone knows each other, and there's a decorum that an actor must have. It's a decorum I've learned from a young age. I don't enjoy it. I don't like it, but the theater business, if I was ever to do that, it would probably not go well for me. It would probably be like, she's crazy. Don't
believe me,
cast her.
you got to hear what they said about Matthew McConaughey. It was a great, when you get the chance, Green Lights, great book.
I gotta read it. But what I've learned is, while sometimes I do want to go in the room and be like, what? Like, why?
Yeah.
I learned that they have their own vision, and like,
Right.
do I want to work with them if they're not seeing my potential? I feel like the more we look at auditions, a two-way street, that not only are you trying to want them to work with you, do you want to work with them?
Right.
And I'm sure they're very nice people, but if they can't see what I'm trying to do, then how are we going to work together to create an amazing show?
Totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Totally makes sense. So I know we spent so much time on what you do, which is an amazing thing.
It's
Because
okay.
I love the performing arts. This is my gig.
Yeah.
But let's talk about your platform.
Absolutely.
As I'm looking through all you do, I said, this woman's got tons of platforms. For breast cancer, I saw that you did something with breast cancer for
Yes.
children with reading. You did
Yes.
that for suicide prevention. You did that.
Yeah.
I mean, everything. And then it was body shame was the one that you really want to focus on.
So my main Stronger Than Shame.
Mm-hmm.
It's a platform that it's an organization, but I like to call it a community. I have so many women that are helping me with Stronger Than Shame.
Could you tell everybody what that means to I'm not sure everybody knows what Stronger Than Shame is. Is
Yeah.
that bullying?
So
or is
Stronger Than Shame, we are about body positivity, body acceptance is the term I love to use.
Okay.
While we talk about female society beauty standards and how that pressure on women for years has been basically destroying the mental health of so many young girls and older women too. It's all ages it's affecting. And I know this platform firsthand because I suffered with eating disorders since I was, I just went on my first diet when I was 10 years old.
Wow.
Yes.
Why would you do that?
Because I just knew when I was born, like when I was younger and I was a cheerleader, I was a little bit bigger than the other girls. Now, I'm a curvy woman, so obviously it was just a young girl who didn't develop her curves yet. And, it was very normal, but I was bullied intensely.
Oh my gosh.
And I already didn't love my body, and I saw that the other girls could be flyers, and they were so skinny, and they could wear really short shorts, and it'd be fine. And I had to dress differently because I was a different shape than all those girls. And while my mom was telling me it was okay, the rest of the world was telling me it was not. And I got it in my head, and I kept seeing these commercials that for the Special K challenge, and I went, that's the first diet I'm doing. Then I went into Weight Watchers. Then I went into Atkins. Then I found my way to stop trying to eat. Then when I was...
Wow. And how old were you when you were going through these phases?
So I started dieting when I was 10. I believe the first time I attempted to not eat was 11 or 12.
Oh my gosh.
And, but I think where it really got bad, and it was already bad enough, of course, when I was 15, I was in a play called How to Succeed in Business. I was playing a role her name was Hetty LaRue, and she was a bombshell character. And they had a scene where we had to wear the same dress, and I'm supposed to come in and be the one that all the guys notice. And as a 15-year-old, I looked around, and there were a lot of girls that I just always looked at because they were skinnier than me, that they were prettier than me. And I was so nervous. My perfectionist self was like, you're supposed to be the one that like steals the spotlight when you walk in here, and how are you going to? And it was Thanksgiving, and I ate a lot out of my nervousness, and then I purged. And it started a spiral that really took over my life.
That's so unhealthy. That's really unhealthy to do stuff like that.
It's like it was already unhealthy, and then it basically just kept getting worse. It was.
Did your parents know? Anybody know? Your friends, parents?
Well, so at first no one knew, and I was very good at hiding it until then later in that year, like after I did one play, I ended up getting Jan in a production of Grease in my high school drama club, and I had to eat a lot of Twinkies, and it made me very uncomfortable. And instead of talking to the director or saying anything, because I just felt like he wouldn't understand, my purging got worse. And sadly, one of my best friends who's here with me, she was the first one to find out. I would call it a diet trick. I actually did not call it binging.
Diet trick?
Yeah, I would just call it a diet trick. Like when I would purge like that, I wouldn't say I had an eating disorder. I would say I didn't believe I had an eating disorder because I made the choice to do it.
Wow.
Like I can't really, when I say that logic now, with all the years of therapy and what I've learned.
How old were you
crazy.
which one was the one?
Catherine.
How old were you guys when you found out?
Catherine was 14 and I was 15.
Oh my gosh, that must have been a traumatic thing for anybody to go through.
I think, it was a lot for me, and it was a lot for her because she didn't know anything about that.
Did you
we
like walk in on the bathroom and see her? She was.
I've heard it, yeah.
Wow.
It was, and she knew.
I can't believe that. That's amazing.
Yeah. And then we had another friend that was like an older sister to us at the time, and she told her. I was very upset about it, but obviously she told her only out of concern.
But did you tell her parents?
Well, no, because I said, if you tell my parents, I will never speak to you again. Like, I made it impossible for anyone to tell my parents.
Wow.
So basically, eventually, I did tell my mom, and she was like, okay, like, let's get you checked out by the doctor. Let's make sure you're okay. the thing is, when I told my mother, I really downplayed it. Like, I told everyone I told my mother, but I was like, I told her I was only doing it for like a couple of weeks.
How long were you doing it for?
At that point, 6 months, 8 months.
Oh my God.
I don't even remember the full time frame, but
So
I
wait,
do remember
were you
that.
ever eating a full meal without purging?
No. I
Oh
hate
my
to say,
God.
the only rare times I would is like if I was away with my family and there was truly no way to like get around like doing it. Like if I was gonna go to the bathroom, then my cousins were like, "Oh, we'll go to the bathroom with you." Like that was the only time.
But there's got to be other health issues that you do. I mean, when you're not having the nutrition's coming right back out of your body.
Yeah.
So were they getting sick?
Well, there was a lot. So I've ruined my gag reflex. I had some acid reflux for a while. The fact I don't have more complications is truly a miracle.
Yeah.
Because for as long as I was doing it, I definitely should have had more issues than I have. And there are many girls that their bodies are destroyed after that and
Yeah.
they cannot bounce back. So I thank God every day that even though I actually continued with purging, like I did it through
Wait.
my senior year.
After your parents find out, you go
Yeah.
to a doctor,
Yep.
and you still do it?
I went to therapy too.
But why did you continue to do it? It's so unhealthy for you. You were
It was
destroying
just
yourself.
when you have a mental health issue like this,
Holy mackerel.
and it's hard. I was not going to the proper therapy. I was just going to a therapist, and I'm sure she was great with a lot of other clients. She was not the therapist for me.
You
And
said that very eloquently. Thank you very much.
And she, and while she was trying to help me, I decided no. And then I decided, well, I didn't like one therapist. That's it.
Then none of the
We're
therapists
done.
work.
And then I stopped for a while. I lost some weight on my own and like with a diet called isogenics. And then naturally, as most diets, I gained some of the weight back. Now, when I'm talking about this, I also was a mid-sized woman all my life. Like, it was not like I was in... My doctors looked at me, they were like, you're fine. You don't need to lose weight.
Right.
No one was telling me except for the insecurities and the bullies I had when I was a kid.
Right.
When the bully... And, you know, I was not friends with anyone in my grade, really. I had a few. I had like 4 friends in my entire grade because all these guys that I took with me today are the people that are still close to me from my hometown. They were all a year or 2 younger than me.
Wow.
I had some older than me too. No one in my grade.
Wow.
And no one thought of it as bullying because I was class president. I was president of the drama club as well. I was very known. I was invited to parties. Bullying exists no matter who you are.
Right.
Just because I seem to be more social and confident and popular. And I'm a person who was always out there wearing what I wanted to wear. I was in theater. I was known as the theater girl. No one thought I had insecurities. Right. I was also the girl who, if you tried to mess with me, I probably would clap back at you really quick. But people didn't, even though that was my outside, I was falling apart.
Yeah.
And it was hard for anyone to see.
How many years did that go?
I was purging until I just turned 19. Actually, I'm sorry, not 19, 20. And
so how many years was that?
If I started 15, 19.
Oh
yeah,
my God.
15 to 19. So I was stuck in there and it was really hard when I finally did stop purging.
Well, how do you just stop? Because there are people that might have that. I mean, your platform is to make people aware,
Yeah.
right? So how did you stop?
So sadly, my way was not a great way. I was going to be asked to leave my program, my musical theater program, because the head of the program found out, and it was going to start affecting my voice. And they were like, in good conscience, we are going to have to ask you to take a medical leave of absence if you can't stop. And I understood, and so I had to just stop. I didn't have a choice because the one thing that saved me was more than I was obsessed with what I was doing, I loved theater more.
Wow.
I couldn't leave. I knew if I had to leave, I knew that would be it.
So can I ask you this? You tell me the honest truth.
Yeah.
Do you feel, and I feel very strongly about this answer, do you think change happens in a moment or change happens over time?
The weird answer is both. I think change does happen in a moment, because the moment you decide that it's the change,
exactly
that's the
right.
real change.
That's exactly right.
But there's still adjustments through that time, through that process. But you have to decide in a moment if you're going to change.
In a moment.
And that's the same with this platform. I am trying to provide I provide a bunch of different posts. I provide a bunch of different talks and honest experiences and other people's ideas to help. Hopefully, if someone is struggling the way I was struggling, there's that one post that changes them.
Right.
And it's like, it's not going to be easy from there. Just because you decide it's change in that moment, there is so much work that comes after.
Absolutely.
But when you decide on the change, that's when you're willing to put in the work.
Wow.
When I first came forward about having my issue to my mom, I did not decide to change in that moment.
Right.
The therapy did not stick. I went right back to purging after like a month of maybe stopping.
Mm-hmm.
It was just not a sustainable idea to just be like, well, I'll just stop. And then, but it was really hard because when I did decide that moment of change, I had the worst year of my life. My sophomore year of college was one of the worst years.
Wow. What made it worse? The worst.
Well, first I was struggling with, my vocal cords, I did not get nodes, but I was very close. It was due to me forcing, purging. It's the buildup. It would ruin a singer's vocal cords, of course. Luckily, I went to voice therapy and I took some rest on my voice and I really helped. And it really did help me. But since I did not go to therapy when I stopped, I had no outlet for anything I was feeling.
Wow.
And I was going through a full musical theater load of classes. A musical theater BFA program, while all college is hard, we do normal classes on top of our theater classes, on top of each different element, your dance class, your acting class, your singing class. They expect a certain amount of amount of hours for outside rehearsal. You don't get, and I was also obsessed with going with the gym still. So in a way, while I stopped purging, my disordered eating thoughts did not stop.
I see.
I was still dieting. While I was eating food, like there would be a timer, like I would have like a meal or two a day. I would still take other times when I was hungry. Coffee, that's a meal replacement. It's terrible how you can go so long, but since I wasn't physically purging, no one realized that anything was wrong.
I see.
Because it looked normal.
Right.
But if you listened to the way I was talking about myself at that time, if you saw my face, if you saw me all hours on end, like at the school until 12, waking up to go to a yoga class at 5 a.m. and not taking any sleep, and then to go straight to daily dance, which is also a very physically intense.
And do it all over again the next day.
Yeah, because we had a 8:20 a.m. dance class every day.
Wow.
So I was just not okay. And then junior year, I decided to finally go to therapy. I decided that on my own terms.
Good.
There was nothing else. I was feeling a lot better. My voice was doing better. I decided to go part-time my junior year. So I could not be in school 24/7 because I needed that.
Right.
And I think it's really hard. We make kids think that when you're in college, you have to do the typical full-time college for a full year. And, so you can get out in 4 years. I did get out in 4 years because of summer classes and this and that. It is okay to go part-time. We need to start normalizing that for kids.
I think now normalizing is a whole different normalizing with the pandemic,
Yeah.
Working from home. I've spent more time with my family than I ever have, so I'm really grateful for
I do think this pandemic is opening people's eyes a lot more. This pandemic is actually kind of what inspired Stronger Than Shame. Because right before I am a performer at American Dream in East Rutherford, New Jersey, and we were dancing. I was in a show with Nickelodeon called Slime Time Live. I was dancing every day, and while I was healthier and my brain was healthier, my mental health, I was doing better. I was still, since I was so busy, I was falling back into weird eating patterns, like one meal a day maybe, stuff like that. And it wasn't on purpose, but when you have an eating disorder for so long, you have to focus on how you are handling your mentality towards food.
Right.
You don't want to focus your full life on food. It's just, you got to really think, have I had 3 meals today? Did I eat enough? Am I hungry?
Right.
When I have a cup of coffee, I always have to say, am I using this as a meal replacement?
Right.
Or do I actually want the coffee?
Right.
You have to And I don't know.
Such a thought process.
There's a
when
thought
it's-
process with
right?
it, and people really don't understand sometimes that that's what recovery. They think once you stop the action, poof, it all goes away.
Right.
That's not how it works.
Got it.
I still need support. That's like from my friends all the time.
Mm-hmm.
My friends support me every time I start to slip up and start to judge myself or start to try to not eat or take these unhealthy habits because they've seen it.
Right.
And they know what it is because of me. And they make sure that I don't go back there when I need that extra help. I'm so happy to say that I can do a lot of it by
Right.
myself now.
Exactly.
But I had years of people helping me with it.
So where do people go for your platform? Where do people go to make that first change to get help?
So I always say therapy. I'm a strong believer that everyone should try therapy once in their life. Even if you don't think you have any sort of mental illness, which is fine. That is, I'm not saying everyone has a mental
Of
illness.
course. Yeah.
But we have so much stress as modern day humans.
We do. That's
We
a
have
great
so
way
much
to put
pressure.
it. Yeah.
Why not just give yourself, and while yes, we have friends that we can talk to.
Yeah, of course.
Sometimes I was known for this before going to therapy. I would put everything on my friends. And that's too much for them.
That's a
While I
good
have
point, yeah.
I have some of the most loyal, amazing friends, and I will say it every day for the rest of my life. But they can't handle that. They have their own life too.
That's right.
We have to understand we can't, and we become dependent on the people in our life that we talk to every day to be able to just vent to.
Right.
And while venting is always okay with your friends, there is a level. And therapy can help with that naturally.
Yeah.
And that is where it can also come out. If you are struggling, if you feel like you're struggling with an eating disorder or struggling with anything like that, or with a mental issue, chances are, if you're really considering or like trying to look it up, like if you might have that, chances are you probably do have
Right.
it. I always say with eating disorders, like there are a couple people on TikTok, that new popular app. I scroll through it sometimes, and there are a lot of eating disorder platforms that they'll be like, a quiz to know if you have an eating disorder, and they'll be like a second later, are you still here? Please go take the national. There's this week is actually the last day of National Eating Disorder Week.
No kidding.
Yes, and the National Eating Disorder Association, they have on their website, they have a quiz you can take to see if you might have an eating disorder. Now, this quiz is not the end all be all. It's an online quiz, but it's something that you could also do to maybe see if you really should try going to a therapist who specializes with eating disorders. So you can have a specific
Got
one.
it.
Or you can start with a therapist who might refer you to someone else. Professional help is always the best way.
That's a great way to tell the audience that you have to get a professional, right?
Yeah.
You can't just do it on TikTok. You got to
Yeah.
get somebody that can
And
really...
while I love my platform,
Yeah.
my platform is not the answer.
But it's the awareness.
But it's the
right?
awareness.
Exactly right.
That is what my goal is. And
Exactly, Krystle.
while, yes, body weight is where I come from and body shape, and I find it to be one of the biggest issues with modern day beauty standards.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the thing that pops up the most. Diet culture is taking over. There's so many different diets.
You're right, 100%.
I was on TikTok again. I was so upset. I was looking through it with my my cousin's kid. She's 8, and I see this. She didn't notice the ad, thank God. But there's an ad that's about intermittent fasting, and I get it. People will make their own choices with their diet lifestyle. I don't agree with it. But what's making me angry about it is I saw if you were shaped like with a little bit of a bigger hip, like they had like a little pictures of if you look like this is how many hours a day you should fast and how many hours you should eat.
Gosh.
If you were shaped like that, they said to eat for 4 hours that day and then 20 hours of the day to fast. I saw red. I think I messaged TikTok about 5 million times that week because I was trying to get that ad ripped down.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of all the kids because that is a big kid app. And that made me so upset because if I saw that in where I was when I was 13,
Yeah.
I would have done it.
Krystle, you have so much passion for this. It's an amazing story. It really is. And I'm sure you're probably going to get across your message to a lot of people. So I think it's an amazing message. And you're right, especially with things like TikTok. I mean, that's great. And the fact that you're so talented, you're throwing yourself out there. There's a lot of vulnerabilities, right?
Thank you. I always felt it was important. Like I knew vulnerability was something I always was
absolutely.
able to show. And not a lot of people are blessed with that privilege to feel safe to do
Right.
that. So I do it because I have the privilege to do it to help those who might not be able
Yeah.
to be fully vulnerable in the world.
That's exactly right. So we usually end up this podcast with a question to you,
Okay.
which you probably already know. So I do this with every one of the guests. I tell them that years and years and years ago, my favorite cars are Mustang. I love the old Mustangs. I just finished restoring it. I pulls into the garage door comes down, and my dad, who's sitting there with me watching that door close, and I said, Dad, I love this car. And he said, Michael, I understand you love this car, but remember, everything that you own in this lifetime will be owned by somebody else, whether it's the car, your house, your jewelry, your clothes, everything. What are you here for? Why did God put you on this earth? And I'm going to ask you that question. What's the one thing that you can tell the people watching this that you were here for? Your legacy, we'll call it.
While there's so many things I would like to do with my time on this planet, I just want to be able to connect, inspire, and help people, especially little girls who, seeing a curvy pageant girl, I think is going to, and a curvy actress, a curvy singer like me, I didn't have that when I was younger.
Right.
So if I saw it on the screen, like maybe I wouldn't have turned to the choices I turned to.
Right.
So I hope that I can just inspire and provide support for those who need it.
That's a great way to put it, man. I couldn't have said it any better. I really couldn't have. That was great.
Thank
Krystle,
you.
I want to honor you. You're a phenomenal guest with a great story. And
Thank you so much.
If anybody can, what YouTube channel handle are you? Do you have a YouTube channel?
Oh, yeah. So right now my YouTube handle is just Krystle Danza. I also am in the process of updating my performer website because things are a little different. KrystleDanza.com.
Yes, and let me tell you, the songs you said, like "Love Out Loud" was one of the songs.
Live Out Loud,
Live Out Loud.
yes.
That was it. It was awesome.
Thank you.
And it reminds me of
That was
Rock
fun.
Out Loud, of
That
course.
was a fun cabaret I did on my birthday.
And a great vibrato, by the way.
Oh,
for
thank
those of
you.
you who know what vibrato is. All right. Well, thank you so very much,
Thank
ladies and
you.
gentlemen. Krystle Danza.
Thank